A 4-year-old little girl from Austin, kidnapped. Her own dad hasn't seen her for 12 years.
This has been a long road. What wound up happening is we got lucky.
Now she's 17, and there is a lot of catching up to do.
They will live the rest of their life looking over their shoulder, because whether it's 12 years, 1 month, or 20 years, we don't quit and we don't stop.
The police work that finally brought Sabrina Allen home.
Imagine this, your child kidnapped, missing for 12 years, and then you get the call she's been found. Greg Allen lived that nightmare. He hasn't seen his daughter Sabrina in 12 years since her mother kidnapped her and took her to Mexico.
Tonight, Sabrina is back here in Texas, and her dad, who has not seen the Austin girl since 2002, says the first thing he plans to do is ask his daughter for a hug. The FBI says that Daryl Lawrence, who did not have custody of Sabrina, kidnapped her and has used a number of different identities to hide in Mexico. Investigators say they found Lawrence and her daughter at an apartment about 2 hours southeast of Mexico City. They were put on an airplane and arrived in Houston last night. This is what Sabrina Allen looked like as a young girl here in Austin 12 years ago. This computer-generated picture shows what authorities believe Sabrina might have looked like now. It was posted on the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's website. Authorities have not released any actual pictures of Sabrina since her rescue.
The Sabrina Allen case is similar to a case KXAN started investigating last year. You might remember Stephen James. He fought to get his 2 sons back from Mexico, where their mother, who did not have legal custody, took the children. KXAN's Angie Bevan has more on these 2 cases and what these Central Texas dads have in common.
I'm going to ask her if I can give her a hug. She's in pretty bad shape, is my understanding.
After 12 years not watching his little girl grow up, Greg Allen finally has his daughter back.
When this first started, the first year, the first time I took a month off and went to Mexico City, I was walking the streets putting flyers on signposts and mailboxes.
The FBI says in 2002, Greg's ex-wife, Daryl Lawrence, took her daughter for a scheduled visit but never returned her home and instead fled to Mexico.
Well, I know what he's feeling. I know what he's been through.
Stephen James can relate. In the summer of 2012, his sons Mateo, now 14, and Zane, now 10, were taken by their mother to Mexico. It wasn't until more than a year later that James was with his boys again.
It's really a terrible thing that people don't realize, and they don't know the pain until it happens to them or someone close to them.
Both dads dealt with the struggles of getting authorities to help out. Both hired private investigators. James warned Sabrina's father, Greg, though she's home, the healing is far from over.
This is not something that it's not over the day you get your child back.
In Austin, Angie Bevan, KXAN News.
Sabrina Allen's father says she is under the care of a clinical psychologist now and is still being evaluated.
We talked to Greg Allen about his missing daughter back in March of 2007. That same day, then First Lady Laura Bush announced plans to open an Austin office for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
This center will serve as a regional hub to manage cases throughout the Southwest, and they can help resolve the increasing number of cross-border abductions.
Space for the Austin office was donated by a local bank.
Our investigation of parental kidnappings in Texas took us to the border with Mexico, where last year I interviewed an attorney who has dedicated more than a decade to finding children who are taken out of this country illegally by a parent who does not have custody. Pamela Brown says it is especially difficult to convince U.S. law enforcement that these cases are worth taking.
Sometimes I've had kind of pushback from law enforcement in this, and I think it's because of that experience they have of not wanting to get involved in child custody issues and that distaste for those cases.
Right now, there are 35 missing Texas children who were kidnapped by a non-custodial family member. That's according to the Texas Department of Public Safety Missing Persons Clearinghouse.
Medical specialists in Dallas tonight are now working around the clock to treat the first patient in the United States diagnosed with the deadly Ebola virus. Tonight we know more about that patient, including his name. He's Thomas Eric Duncan. This man you see here has been in isolation at the hospital in Dallas since Sunday. He's from the African country of Liberia and traveled to Texas to visit family. He remains in serious condition tonight. Health officials confirmed today that Duncan had contact with 5 school-aged children in Dallas. Those students are now being monitored at home. Health officials say in all, Duncan was in contact with up to 18 people. The director of the Dallas County Health Department says none of these people are showing any signs of symptoms or infection. This afternoon, hospital officials also confirming the patient visited their facility days before he was admitted. He apparently told an intake nurse that he had just traveled to North Texas from Liberia. That information was not passed on, and he was sent home with a prescription for antibiotics.
Regretfully, that information was not fully communicated throughout the full team.
To fight Ebola at its source, troops from Fort Hood will deploy to Western Africa. The medics will help train people in that affected country to treat Ebola. The head of the emergency room at UMC Brackenridge here in Austin walked us through what would happen if a patient showed up with symptoms of Ebola. Dr. Chris Zabel says there would be no need to move them to a special isolation room used for airborne diseases. This regular room in the ER would work just fine, but the door would be closed and the staff would suit up.
This is a gown that it's paper, but it's impervious, and it's got little sleeves. Head goes through there, sleeves go through there, and now I've got a full barrier protection on the front, and then a mask with an eye shield. So that goes on and fits there, and then my gloves.
The doctor would likely cover his shoes as well. He says covering up every inch of skin from head to toe, like we've seen in recent news coverage, is overkill.
Even getting Ebola, a drop of Ebola blood on your skin isn't likely to do anything unless you have chapped skin, dry skin, a crack in the skin.
There are hundreds of refugees from Western Africa in the greater Austin area who anxiously await news every day from loved ones back in their native land. KXAN's David Scott spoke tonight with Liberian immigrants who want to get the word out here and back home that help is needed and help is coming.
Paul and Dorcas Tia came here in 2003. He left behind 11 brothers and sisters and his aging mother Frances, whose own doctor has died from Ebola. He says his country just ended a 15-year war and now is in another.
It is a war that is a spiritual war because you don't see the thing that attacking you.
Everyone is worried.
Dorcas has 4 siblings at home where life is a struggle, even getting water now from the nearby village.
The whole family, that's the way to get water from, the whole family that died. And so they cannot even go there to get water anymore.
Across town, Johnson Doe has 6 siblings in Liberia. He's trying to arrange sanitizing and medical supplies to ship home through his church. He says his people are frightened to go out, frightened to socialize, afraid even of the hospital.
Put it on a local radio station so they can speak it in different languages so people will understand what is important to go to hospital.
And not be afraid.
And not be afraid, because that's the only place you can get your help from.
They are all so grateful for American help. They believe it is that and their faith that will see people through.
All I tell them is it's going to get well. It's going to be better. There's nothing that is greater than God. The power of God is great.
David Scott, KXAN News.
And tonight in Dallas, members of the Liberian community there met to encourage each other to remain vigilant when it comes to their health practices. They also collected supplies to send to Liberia. If you would like to get involved, we have a link to items still needed on KXAN.com. And our coverage of Ebola continues online at KXAN.com right now. You'll find a timeline of the virus's progression since 1976 and information you may not have known about 2 previous incidents of Ebola here in Texas.
A military base here in Texas was locked down today after an unauthorized vehicle drove through a security gate. Officials with the Naval Air Station Reserve Base in Fort Worth locked down the facility. That's after a pickup truck drove through the gate this afternoon. All inbound lanes were reopened about a half hour later, but every vehicle leaving the base was searched. The incident remains under investigation. The head of the U.S. Secret Service says she will resign after a recent string of serious security lapses. Director Julia Pearson announcing her resignation this afternoon. This after a man from Texas jumped the fence and made it deep inside the White House. 3 days later, an armed man was able to ride in an elevator with President Obama in Atlanta. Joseph Clancy will serve as interim director. He's a former special agent in charge of the Presidential Protective Division.
In the race for governor, Senator Wendy Davis appears to be closing in on Texas Attorney General Greg Abbott. The Texas Lyceum poll found 49% of Texans support Abbott, with 40% now supporting Davis. State Senator Dan Patrick leads State Senator Leticia Van de Putte in the race for Lieutenant Governor, 47% to 33%.
Now, first warning weather.
Felt more like early September than the first day of October today. High temperatures topped 90 degrees across much of the area. 92 was the high at Camp Mabry and 93 at Austin Bergstrom. That's on a day, mind you, when the average high is down to 86 degrees. Don't get used to that hot weather, though. We are forecasting the clash of that warm air mass with another cooler air mass coming from the north. And that cold front that's on the way tomorrow night could spell out a round of severe weather. We'll take an in-depth hour-by-hour look at the possibility of severe thunderstorms locally coming up in your first warning forecast.
University of Texas police get a mine-resistant military vehicle, and that's not all. See if you think it's all too much after hearing why they want it. And new at 10, a break in the case after vandals wreak havoc at an Austin church. And a home invasion suspect on the run all across the hill country. We have the latest on just where he's been spotted. New at 10 tonight, Austin police tell us they've arrested 8 people in the case of a vandalized church. We showed you the extent of the damage just over a week ago at St. John Regular Baptist Association Tabernacle in Northeast Austin. Austin police have planned a news conference for tomorrow morning from the church to give us some more information. We will be there. Tonight, a home invasion suspect is still on the run out of Llano County. After nearly a week, the tips are coming in from 6 counties about Edward Adamson's whereabouts.
He is considered armed and dangerous on meth, and he's still out there. New tonight, we're breaking down the latest information, showing you where he's been. The trail of Edward Adamson is now snaking across the hill country. Since running from Llano police on Thursday night and tying up an elderly man Friday morning and assaulting his wife and stealing their Jeep Compass, new information shows he's been very busy. This is a picture from a game camera at a hunting ranch near Medina from the Bandera County Sheriff's Office. Medina is about 2 hours south of Llano. Neighbors tell authorities they noticed a light on in the cabin there Monday night. The cabin's owner came out, found a Chevrolet Blazer there had been stolen. Well, it's tough to make out. Authorities believe the tattoos on this man may be the same as the ones Adamson has. On Tuesday, Burnett police say Adamson was spotted knocking on a back door to an apartment there. But by the time police got there, he was gone. But shortly after that, police say a Valero gas station surveillance camera snapped this picture of him. Burnett police say he apparently tried to use a credit card allegedly taken in the Llano robbery. Surveillance video shows him driving the Blazer. And then very early Wednesday morning, the stolen Blazer was found abandoned in Kerrville in front of Nimitz Elementary School. But no Adamson. The elderly Llano woman Adamson is accused of assaulting last Friday is now out of an Austin hospital. A Jeep Compass stolen from their home, still missing.
Some Texas lawmakers are now calling for changes after a KXAN investigation showed unintended consequences from a law meant to prevent wrongful convictions. In June, we told you about the DNA testing law with this basic idea. The Department of Public Safety should test all relevant DNA evidence in a capital murder investigation before that case goes to trial. In a letter acquired by KXAN from DPS to the bill's sponsor, State Senator Rodney Ellis, we learned that as of late July, DPS has tested evidence in 22 capital cases, completing 18 of those. That cost the agency about $100,000, in part because these capital cases take so much more time. For example, a DNA scientist spends about 3 months per case versus about 10 cases per month with non-capital murders and sexual assaults. To help keep up, DPS says it needs 10 more forensic scientists with supplies and equipment. State Senator Ellis today said he will push the legislature for that funding. That is welcome news to Michael Morton, the man who spent nearly 25 years in prison for the murder of his wife, a crime he did not commit.
Most everybody here knows what happened to me. I got out because we got access to biological evidence. Had this court case been in effect when I went through my ordeal, I'd still be in prison.
KXAN has covered the Michael Morton story every step of the way, and you can find much more on his life after prison on KXAN.com.
While some call it overkill, the University of Texas System Police say they will put military-grade equipment it's getting for free to good use. Through the program, they've received a mine-resistant vehicle called an MRAP, 2 Humvees, rifles, and rifle sights. The director of police says the equipment has very specific uses. He says the MRAP would only be deployed in critical situations like an active shooter or natural disaster.
We made what we think is a measured, informed, deliberative decision that certain kinds of equipment simply make sense because in the end, God forbid, we encounter one of these events, lives will be saved because of it.
While the equipment is free, UT will pay for maintenance and training costs.
Still pretty warm out there for the first day of October.
It is above 80 degrees. We were about 8 or 9 degrees above our average high, but some much cooler weather is on the way, and we've only got to wait about 24 hours for it. Here's where it's coming from. The jet stream has a big dip in it. That means a lot of cold air is bottled up to our north and west. You can see that moving around through New Mexico, the Rockies. By the way, up to a ½ foot of snow falling tonight in parts of Colorado, and that cold front is heading toward our neck of the woods. We are expecting that front to arrive at about 24 hours from now, late tomorrow night into early Friday morning, and it'll bring a couple of things. First of all, along it, a decent round of showers and thunderstorms. Some of those could be severe, which we have not had to deal with in a while. And then behind it, some cooler and much more comfortable weather on the way for the weekend. Now, we do have one more hot day on the way tomorrow because that front won't arrive until late tomorrow night. 94 degrees is your forecast high tomorrow. That's even a couple of degrees hotter than we were today in Austin. But look at that. Friday, we're back down to normal, and Saturday, below normal. High temperatures down to the lower 80s. Should be feeling much nicer. Unfortunately, what we often see during these times of year when cold air clashes with warm air, the possibility of severe weather. This is a map showing that slight risk area of severe thunderstorms painting across much of central Texas for tomorrow night. That yellow shading, of course, meaning the slight risk as opposed to a higher risk denoted by those other colors. Let's take you over to our high-resolution model now so we can get a better understanding of just how this may play out tomorrow. Notice I'm starting you off here tomorrow afternoon because very little going to happen weather-wise tonight and tomorrow morning. But here we go. I'll advance this past 3 p.m. and here comes the cold front into the hill country by about 6 or 7 o'clock. Notice our computer is flaring up some powerful thunderstorms. Some of these could be severe with some hail, some damaging winds. Tornadoes as of right now not a large risk, but of course we can never really rule those out completely. Notice at 7 p.m. the front is still far from our metro areas, not expecting any big rush hour impact with this front, but the front will be arriving in a metro area later tomorrow night. By 10:30 our computer model has numerous thunderstorms. Again, any one of these could have a little bit of hail, a little bit of damaging wind along with it, and that will continue pushing off east into our eastern counties after midnight. And then as we go through the early morning hours on Friday, looks like this rain will clear out just about as quickly as it came through. That's great news, by the way, if you have tickets to ACL Music Fest Weekend 1. We could not create a more perfect Weekend 1 forecast for you. Look at this, bright sunshine Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Temperatures will be just picture perfect with low humidity, low temperatures in the 50s in town, and high temperatures no warmer than the 80s. Very nice. That's about how warm it is out there right now. These are your current temperatures, 82 in Austin, 81 degrees right now in Georgetown. And with a lot of humidity still around, we do have a lot of mold in the air. That is high on today's pollen count. Ragweed medium and fall elm checking in low. Low temperatures will be warm and muggy tonight in the 70s area wide, 90s area wide tomorrow before that front moves through late tomorrow night. 76 degrees, low clouds building in Austin tonight. We will break up those low clouds tomorrow afternoon, but tomorrow evening, here come those thunderstorms associated with the cold front. We've upped those rain chances, by the way, overnight Thursday into Friday, at least a 60% shot of those storms impacting you. Again, some of those could be severe. We will keep you up to date right here on KXAN. And of course, meteorologist Mark Monstrola will have the latest tomorrow morning starting at 4:30.
All right, David, thank you very much.
A little cooler weather coming, so are the Baylor Bears.
They are coming, and we'll feel their presence too. Charlie Strong and company preparing is revenge on the menu for the Longhorns this weekend.
And next in an all-new Tonight Show, Jimmy welcomes Jennifer Garner, John Mulvaney, and musical guest Lady Antebellum.
Somebody say we're a 14-point underdog. I'll give them 21 points. I mean, right now, it was up to me. I don't know if I even want to show up for the game. I want a white flag. I surrender.
Few Texas players have made headlines by not exactly giving Baylor the respect due to a reigning Big 12 champion, but Horns defensive coordinator Vance Bedford clearly taking the opposite route today. The Bears come in 4-0, the schedule not lacking in cupcake opponents, but the numbers are the best in the entire country. Tops in yardage, tops in point. Bedford loves what his defense is doing, but they have their work cut out for them with Baylor this week.
We're heading in the right direction. We're taking baby steps. And the only thing about the baby steps we're taking, we're finna run into a buzzsaw. That's the only thing about it. You know, you wish you were playing Podunk U, but we're not. We're playing Baylor University, who right now is leading the entire country in offense.
Of course, last season, only one team held Baylor to fewer points than Texas, but Texas lost 30-10, squandering a huge opportunity. How much that game weighs on the minds of the players now depends on who you ask. Chris Tavares has more.
Saturday's game, a rematch of what was essentially last year's Big 12 championship. Now, after going to the half tied at 3, though, Baylor coming away with the 30-10 win and the Big 12 title. But even after coming within 30 minutes of the conference championship, the Longhorns still aren't looking to this week for revenge.
Motivation, yes. Revenge, no. You know, that's something you never forget. So you just try to, throughout this week, try to work hard to make sure you have opportunity to change that.
You still think about it, but it's a new year and you got to kind of let those things go and just focus on this new task at hand.
We don't really think about it that much. We don't really talk about it that much. We just say, we was 30 minutes from just having a Big 12 championship in our hands, and going to the Fiesta Bowl. That's all we do. We don't really put a mark on it as Baylor or anything like that. We just, to ourselves, we know that we was 30 minutes away from it, and we have a chance to do the same.
I look at last year, they throw a slant route, 2 slants for a touchdown, then we throw a pick 6 for a touchdown, then all of a sudden the game it's over with, and that's the type of plays that we can't give up. It's almost like you like to say, hey, can we not turn it over? Can we just make sure that we move the ball and just keep it away from them?
Texas with a long-standing tradition of calling itself DBU for all the defensive backs it's put in the NFL. It'll be facing its toughest test of the season so far when it goes up against WRU, or Wide Receiver University, as Baylor has started calling itself after having 5 receivers drafted in the last 5 years. Chris Tavares, KXAN News.
And police in Grapevine, Texas are investigating an alleged sexual assault involving Dallas Cowboys reserve defensive back C.J. Spillman. According to multiple reports, authorities received a report about the incident on September 20th. The next day, the Cowboys played the Rams. Spillman played in that game. So no charges yet, but no penalty from the team or from the league.
We'll keep watching that story.
All right, we'll be right back.
Hey guys, we're playing Catchphrase with Jennifer Garner, John Mulaney, Questlove. We got music from Lady Antebellum tonight. You gotta watch. We're on next. It's great.
Will be funny, no doubt. David taking us into Thursday, though.
And one more hot day to go, 94 your forecast high, but thunderstorms will be increasing, especially after sunset. Some of those could be severe tomorrow night. We'll keep you up to date.
All right, David, thank you very much. We thank you for watching. Of course, you can get the very latest on your news and traffic and weather all together every 10 minutes on KXAN at 4:30 tomorrow morning.
And stay connected at our website, kxan.com. Thanks for joining us here tonight. We'll see you back here on Thursday.